Welcome to this week's episode of the Compliance Digest, presenting topics on all things compliance related. My name is Alex Krenke, and joining me this week is Christy Caruso, one of our senior sales executives at Quest CE. Christy, welcome.
Thanks, Alex.
This week we're going to be talking about the 2013 annual FINRA conference, which was held in Washington, D.C. just last week. The two of us were able to attend, so we wanted to overview the conference for those of you who weren't, and then just point out a few highlights in case you forgot. So, Christy, this was your first time attending the FINRA conference. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was a very informative conference. It's always interesting for me personally to see what the trends and hot topics are going to be each year. And
I know last year that the main focus was mostly on social media and suitability. This year, has that changed at all? Has the focus shift?
That was very interesting because social media and suitability are still hot topics in the industry. I know that all of those breakout sessions were very popular. However, we did see a shift in regards to some new trends this year, and that's really stemming around the outside business activities as well as the branch exams.
And I think another thing that stuck out to me, which came up during the Jobs Act presentation, was the idea of crowdfunding, which is really new to the industry, not just the securities industry. Should we be cognizant of this?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of interest surrounding this topic, especially after the President signed the Jobs Act last April. As you may already know, this act is really aimed at boosting small business growth, and it really legalized the crowdfunding in a way for businesses to solicit private investors with a promise of potential returns. The areas that you want to pay attention to in this specific topic is the fact that this really brings in questions of suitability and due diligence in regards to those specific topics. In addition, at the conference, FINRA's Chief Executive Richard Ketchum told us that FINRA is going to be regulating these crowdfunding portals and that these websites are actually going to have to re-register once these final rules are agreed upon.
Which I'm sure is something that they're not overly excited about. But again, like you're saying, crowdfunding is really relatively new to the industry. Any regulation that has been discussed is still pending and nothing's really been set into stone. So I think this will be something that we'll hear about for the remainder of 2013, and we'll probably even leak into 2014 as well, and we may be talking about this again at the 2014 annual conference. So talking about the conference as a whole, it is an expensive conference. Do you think it's worth it? Can you justify the expense if you're talking to your firm, your BD, and they're contemplating should we send the person or not? Do you think it's worth it?
One of the biggest perks to being able to have the opportunity to attend these conferences is not only obviously to get to participate in the breakout sessions, but really to be able to be there with other people in the industry. That gives you the real opportunity to learn what other firms are doing, especially those firms that are similar to yours.
And were you able to gather any inside scoop that may not have been covered in any of the webcasts or that was covered in the podcasts? Anything that the audience may be missing?
Yes. I actually had the opportunity to connect with one of my clients who attended the roundtable discussion, and he actually told me that that proved to be one of the most valuable sessions at the conference because a lot of people just got together, shared what they're doing in regards to specific compliance measures, as well as provided takeaways and what specifically is working well for their firm.
I agree. That's always one of the more helpful things is, it's a really cool format in that you get to be around firms that are similar to you in size and your product offerings and compare best practices for compliance. That'll actually cover it for our coverage of the 2013 annual FINRA conference. I do want to thank you, Christy, for joining us and sharing some of your knowledge that you had gained from last week. We had some interesting perspectives, both from the vendor's sake and then from some of our clients that we ran into. And it's always interesting to see how the large BDs versus the small BDs are handling compliance moving into 2013. So thank you, Christy.
Thanks, Alex.
And that'll cover it for this week's episode. I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next week for another exciting episode of the Compliance Digest. Thank you.